So let's just say I take food away from you, right? A lot of the things that you're gonna do to go ahead and get food would be like what a person that is an addict would do, right? You will probably steal for it. You will just be out of character trying to get that, no matter what it is. But does that mean that I am necessarily addicted to food? Or is it just something that I should have as a human being? Is there a point? And I'm not saying that people who are just out here reckless, I'm talking about a man who is seriously deprived from his wife. Would you consider that to be close to addiction? If this is something that him as a human being wants and somebody robs you of intimacy, do you feel like a person is addict because they don't have ways of coping?
I mean, if a guy's if he's deprived, then I mean that goes back to what I was talking about, like having those barriers put up. Like part of one of those barriers to even keep you from cheating is having a already having a healthy sex life with your partner. So if you, for the men that out there are struggling to get it, like their girls or their wives are one of those things that's now pushing them to cheat, even if they don't, it might not even be their fault. It might, maybe they got to work a lot, maybe they're taking care of all the kids. That doesn't subtract from the fact that the man still has needs. So if that man doesn't communicate it, or what's been happening a lot is men actually do communicate it and talk about it all the time, and feel like they're always like begging for it. You get to the point where you just get tired and you're like, well, I need something, so you step out and do it. So I don't put that that doesn't go under the category of addiction. That's
Okay.
regular relationship and marital problems that need to be worked out.
Yeah, remember, addiction is neurological. When so you got addiction, and then you have dependence. Which is hand in hand with needs. But addiction, where the reason why they were finally able to classify alcoholism as addiction is because they realize it's a neurological thing. It's not necessarily something that your body actually needs, or even smoking weed is something that is in your mind. But then you got dependence, which is physical. And so what we're talking about when we talk about sex, especially how men can just somehow detach the mental side of sex from, I mean, detach his mental requirements or his emotional requirements from the physical need of sex and just busting a nut. So it wouldn't be necessarily an addiction. Men aren't typically addicted to sex. Well, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. There is some, that's one of the reasons why Halle Berry got a divorce with
No, Dick, but you're saying typically, we get it.
yeah. But
You mean
dependence,
Eric
men are
Benet?
but are men dependent on sex? Or is there a dependence there? I mean, Dr. Miles Monroe would say so. He says men need sex. Women need love, but men need sex. You have to have it. So, but addicted to it, nah. It's more of that's a mind thing.
With the implying addiction means it's going to go through a cycle. When you think about dependence, if you're deprived of something, that means you're going to go through withdrawal, meaning you're going to start doing things now that's out of character to be able to get what it is that you need. So you also got to kind of look at it that way too.
Oh, all right. Let me add to that. Right. So typically would not be liars, but end up lying to get some sex. You have men who typically are frugal or end up tricking off and spending all their money to get some sex. You have men behaving completely out of character. They showed the discipline to become president of the United States, end up losing their presidency behind the sex. Fortune 500 companies, CEOs, some of the most disciplined men in the world, end up losing their families and they political positions specifically behind sex. And when y'all talk about cycling, so I think it's an age cycle that occurs. I think when your body changes, your mental around that can also change. And I think there's a chemical makeup drop that happens, which allows it to make it easier for you to stay for you not to be as engaged sexually. Similar to how your first day of coming off, you wean off of whatever drug and alcohol that is, and you're never fully cured of it. But the longer and further you are from your last addiction date, the better you are at handling it in most cases, unless you hit one of those triggers. And some people, given the opportunity, would act on it, but I don't think most people have the opportunities, which is why those guys in those in a high position or that are highly sought after by women typically tend to succumb to those things because it's such a bountiful surplus coming in, as opposed to somebody who does not have the opportunity to. Because when you have unlimited opportunities, they steady hitting on you. You actually have to like you have to add extra barriers, as Nelson was calling them. Now you can't go like I used to not stay for the end of the club for the let out just to keep myself out of a situation. Like it's different things you start figuring out to get up out the jam. Like I don't know. That's why I'm comparing to that, thinking about the difference in how that works.
If you take it back to pure nature, we weren't meant to be monogamous without introducing religion or anything like that. If you had an African brother up here that had 3 wives and he was taking care of those families, and you told him your views about being monogamous to one, that would be an issue. That would be a whole conversation right there, because that's not the environment nor the culture that person grew up in. We were introduced to being from savages, from being alpha. I take what you have and make it work for me. We are animals at the beginning of the day, so we are predisposed. We're put here to reproduce. And those urges, now we have discipline since we've supposedly evolved into cultures and under religious facts that this is the way that we're supposed to conduct ourselves. So then you look at,
go ahead, bro. My bad.
Real quick. Mm-hmm. You give Kirk Franklin. What did he say he fought all that while before he got right with his wife? Which I still
porn addiction.
Lust.
A form of sex addiction, porn addiction.
He used, in my opinion, I'll land the plane right now. He stood there and lied to all of us.
So for me, the question then becomes, so we're in a civilized society, right? We're no longer in Stone Ages or back in Africa and all this. So are we humans? Are we civilized human beings functioning in the Western world? Or do we want to go to our base animalistic, depraved behaviors? Because the truth of the matter is, survival of the fittest dictate that if I'm strong and bigger than you, then I can run up on you and take your shit. Right? So I just prefer to deal with stuff as it is. Like, that's why I was just saying, people make these arguments for what our natural state of being is, so on and so forth. But we realize that we're socialized into Western culture. Western culture is informed by Christian ideals and beliefs and principles. And so we're under a system of monogamy. Now, again, if your get down is, and this is the other thing I'm not understanding, if we're saying that sex dominates us and we can't control that appetite, then what type of men are we? That's young boy shit. Me getting to the A and being a slut monkey, running around, I'm nailing everything to the wall. Right? And I get the results of that, right? Fair enough.
Supports my point, really. When I was talking about the stage.
Go ahead, my bad, bro. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just was saying you supported my point when I was talking about the stages of life and how your body chemistry changes, and then you can precipice with that. Because maybe addiction is too strong of a word, but whatever that nature dictates, you precipice in it, and then there's an age where you wean off of it. So I was paralleling that to those things, and different triggers can. Now it's a loosely based theory, right? I didn't study. That's why I said I wish somebody who specializes in this to study, so we can really look into it. Because that might be able to save some people's families, because it might be some tools that you can give people that currently don't have them now, just struggling with this on their own.